has you covered. Start your day with the first word. Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Power through midday with the working lunch. Cincinnati business talk that keeps you in the know. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and the Rebound Rundown covers every corner of the college basketball scene in the tri-state and beyond. This is The Crown. Built for Cincinnati. First word for your morning sports. The working lunch for business that hits home. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and Rebound Rundown for college hoops. This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
It is midday in the Queen City. Business is booming. We're talking about bourbon in the Bluegrass with the distillery that made the best in the world this year. Let's do lunch. Cincinnati is a city that means business. Fortune 500 company HQs, renowned institutions like Children's Hospital and the Cincinnati Zoo, and letters that everyone here knows: TQL, GE, CVG, UC, and X. It's also a city that's large enough for new ideas to take root and grow. You know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and you're in business. I'm Jack Crumley, and this is The Working Lunch. Yes, hello, this is The Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. This is our hour-long business show here on The Crown, where we bring you headlines about what local companies are up to. We bring you in-depth interviews with local leaders and business owners, try to squeeze in a bite to eat, and in today's case, a little something to drink before you go back to face the afternoon. We are wrapping up a shortened holiday week. Happy 4th of July to you and yours this Independence Day weekend. Let's start it off. Cincinnati business headlines. We are starting today's show with a look at a possible before and after, as the idea to put caps over top of Fort Washington Way is now getting a $25 million federal transportation grant to help pay for the massive project. Here's what Fort Washington Way looks like now, cutting through downtown. As you see, it's been that way for years. It was narrowed about 20-odd years ago with the exposed road below. And now here's what it could look like after, when it's all done. That is conceptual art from KZF Design, one of the design firms involved. Again, this is a $25 million federal grant. This is the third time that this idea has been applied for to get the money out of Washington, though it is the first time that the Cincinnati area is seeing the green light for that federal money. That money does require a local match, so that will take some work with Hamilton County and the city of Cincinnati and others all coordinating to come up with the other half of that money. That's all just for one deck over the connecting highway. It would be between Vine and Walnut. There are plans for other decks to be built between Vine and Race, and even out to Elm and Maine. I think it's also possible to use money from Cincinnati's Southern Railway Trust Fund, which was set up specifically for existing infrastructure. And putting these caps on the road would be additions to existing infrastructure. Many more decisions would have to come here, and a lot more money that'll need to be figured out. Those caps, of course, will bring shade to Fort Washington Way, and shade is something that is at a premium right now in this heat wave. Speaking of which, Crone Conservatory, which already closed greenhouses earlier this week because of the heat, is closing again early today and tomorrow at 3 p.m. If you had tickets to the Butterfly Show, you can get a refund or just figure out a time to go when it's not this stinking hot out. Destination Monarch, that's the name of the Butterfly Show, runs now through August 9th. So, little insight into my life. I somehow got on the mailing list for the Kansas City Steak Company a while back. I'm not sure if that was a present for my dad or what, but they've been sending me a lot of mail since the spring as grilling season is on. And because of that, I wanted to check on beef prices as we head into the 4th of July holiday weekend. If you do grocery shopping for your home, you probably know what I'm about to tell you. We are still seeing record high beef prices in the U.S., but despite that, demand isn't dipping. Things like drought and more expensive feed have played a big part in the shrinking domestic cattle herd over the last couple of years, thus driving up prices. The average price of ground beef was $6.75 per pound in May, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's up nearly 13% from a year ago, and just below April's record high of $6.90. Beef steak prices averaged $12.80 a pound. That's up 16% from a year before, and the second highest level on record. A Kroger spokesman talked to CNBC saying that customer demand for steak, though, is still quite high, with a shift going toward more premium and organic steak options. Steak is being seen as an affordable luxury right now. We'll see if that lasts. It'll take a few years to build the U.S. cattle herd back up to levels that we saw previously. On a different part of the meat spectrum, I'm not sure if this is another chapter in the seemingly endless chicken sandwich wars or not, but here's what we know. There is a new chicken restaurant based out of Colorado called Bird Call. We talked about this yesterday, planning a big expansion in Ohio in the coming years. And now the Inquirer, go ahead and put that back up, says Raising Cane's a chicken place that specializes in tenders, tendies if you're feeling more comfortable, is now going to be open later hours. Raising Cane's is now open until midnight or later during the week and into the wee hours of the morning on Fridays and Saturdays. That is at certain stores. And because it is a summer holiday weekend, and because your Uncle Jack is looking out for you, here is a map of the Raising Cane's restaurants locally that are running those late night hours. So you can see they're way up north on Tylersville Road in Westchester is one. The Raising Cane's on Coleraine is another. Out on the west side, I believe that's Race Road, the Raising Cane's. There's one in Oakley Square. And down in the south, the Raising Cane's in Cold Spring. Those are all going to be open until midnight or later during the week. And again, well past midnight on Fridays and Saturdays. Not sure why the others didn't rate, but certainly it's probably a demand thing. Anyway, make note of those. Go ahead and take a screen cap right now so you know where you can go when the sun is down and you're hungry. This is a pretty big deal in that the pandemic really kind of killed late night shopping and late night eating at restaurants. This is a big company that is making a decision that there's more money to be made by staffing and staying open late at night versus just shutting down. This is also going to be a big deal for social media to start posting pics and videos of lines like this at 12 midnight on a Saturday instead of 12 noon on a Sunday. I'd like to wish a very sincere good luck to the folks who work at those late night drive-thrus with these new hours now ahead. Now for today's Big Bite. My guest today is Hannah Lowen, the CEO of New Riff Distilling in Newport, Kentucky. Right at the top, the northernmost point of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, which is a big part of tourism in this area.
All right, y'all. Thanks for watching this video. For more videos like this and to explore everything Northern Kentucky has to offer, please like and subscribe to Meet NKY's YouTube channel.
So the Beeline is Northern Kentucky's self-guided bourbon tour. It consists of 9 distilleries, 10 bourbon bars, and all have at least 100 bourbons in stock, along with bourbon-centric restaurants. The Kentucky bourbon industry is a key part of that state's tourism economy and really state economy in general. Reporting from just earlier this year said that Kentucky bourbon hit $10.6 billion in economic impact to the state. That happened as the industry is dealing with some global challenges. Kentucky distillers saw the writing on the wall, though. After a production peak that we saw in 2023 when sales were way up, the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States showed a 1% drop in year-over-year revenue growth in the year 2024. Some call that a drop. Others would say that is just things normalizing after a big boom during the pandemic. Even still, get it? Still, 2024 production was still 12% higher than 2 years before that, and more than double what it was just a decade ago. Along with sales normalizing from the pandemic and signs that younger people aren't as interested in alcohol as even millennials are, and the cost of living being up, there's also the issue of tariffs.
Even as demand for alcohol slumps in the U.S. and distillers slash production, Kentucky's bourbon industry continues to roll along. But tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump are compounding the challenges for bourbon makers, as the industry is heavily reliant on global trade. From reduced exports to rising production costs, distillers and suppliers across the state are feeling the strain.
A lot of our sales overseas have been impacted due to the tariffs that are coming. A lot of our imports are being impacted.
Melody Pruitt is Vice President of Operations at Canton Cooperage, a Kentucky-based wooden barrel supplier for some of bourbon's biggest brands.
There's a little frustration, I believe, whether you are for the Trump administration or you are against it. I think it's just being in this industry or any other industry that this may be affecting the way it's affecting this one. I think is a little bit of frustration. We see the end game, it's just it's killing us trying to get there.
Pruitt said higher import costs have forced operational cuts, including reduced staffing.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, their livelihood depends on coming to work every day, just like mine depends on coming to work every day.
Mark Irwin, the CEO of Bardstown Bourbon Company, says retaliatory trade measures have stalled his plans for product expansion outside the U.S.
If you're selling 50 to 60% of your product overseas, it's having a significant impact. We were about to receive orders when Canada shut down receiving American products.
If tariffs weren't enough, now the fallout from the Iran war has threatened to prolong the pain.
That reporting from Reuters. It was just over a year ago when the president declared Liberation Day tariffs. And last year, Kentucky whiskey exports fell 15%. That is on top of a 26% drop from the tariffs that were instituted back in 2018. Reuters says that international demand for Kentucky bourbon never really bounced back from that. Kentucky's bourbon industry supports some 24,000 jobs across the Commonwealth. The vast majority, 84% of the corn bought for bourbon production, comes from Kentucky farmers. The state hosts 125 licensed distilleries operated by 104 companies across 45 of Kentucky's 120 counties. And the planning to build continues despite those economic headwinds. Kentucky Distillers Association member distilleries are in the middle of a 10-year, $3.5 billion capital investment campaign. KDA members reported that they've invested more than $2 billion in the last 5 years and plan to invest another $1.5 billion over the next 5. Bourbon's an interesting product as well because you have to age it. So inventory available in any given year is partially decided by moves that were made years before, an echo effect, ripples in the pond. Here's the inventory of bourbon by age over time. These figures coming out of distillerytrail.com. You can see different colors there for different aged bourbons and the way everything ramps up when purchasing really started going up a few years ago. But again, we are seeing a bit of a normalization, but that doesn't change what the inventories were and the investment that was made years ago. No surprise when bourbon production picked up around 2012, inventories that had aged less than 3 years also increased. And during that time, older bourbon inventories started to decline. That's demand growing faster than production in prior years. In more recent years, inventories have increased across all ages. It is a fascinating product, a really interesting industry. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, more bourbon talk with the CEO of New Riff Distilling, Hannah Lowen, joining us next. You're watching The Working Lunch on The Crown. Stick around.
This city has always had something to prove. While the rest of the country talked about us, we built our own voice. Blue collar, underdogs, built differently, overlooked, talked about like we were supposed to stay quiet. But that was never who we were, because this city doesn't wait for permission. And neither do we. And now, for the first time, Cincinnati has a network built in its image, because the biggest stories in this city deserve more than highlights. This isn't cable television. This isn't national media. This is ours. This is the Crown.
The Crown has you covered. Start your day with the first word. Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Power through midday with the working lunch. Cincinnati business talk that keeps you in the know. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city. And the Rebound Rundown covers every corner of the college basketball scene in the tri-state and beyond. This is The Crown. Built for Cincinnati. First word for your morning sports. The working lunch for business that hits home. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city. And Rebound Rundown for college hoops. This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
My name is Jack Crumley. I've been covering news in Cincinnati on the radio for the last 20 years. I grew up in Northeast Ohio, but Cincinnati has always felt like home since day one. I've seen so many things accomplished here, and now, with the Working Lunch, I get to write, read, and talk about them every day. Hard-working people with a drive and a dream. Innovative ideas that help shape this city. Cincinnati is a great city, and I'm excited to tell you about it every day.
My name is James Rapine, and I host First Word every weekday morning, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. Prior to joining The Crown Network, I covered the Bengals for Sports Illustrated for 6 seasons. I also am the founder of Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube and wrote the book, Enter the Jungle, A History of the Cincinnati Bengals. Couldn't be more excited to join you every weekday morning for First Word, right here on The Crown.
Hello, welcome back to the Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. I have the pleasure of being joined by Hannah Lowen, the CEO of New Riff Distilling in Newport, Kentucky, one of the handful of bourbon makers here in northern Kentucky, representing this region. And we got to get into this part right away. Congratulations.
Thank you.
New Riff Distilling out of Newport, Kentucky, a local business that's been going for a little over a decade. This year, just a few months ago, was the winner of the World's Best Bourbon Award.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
That is
you.
a tremendous
Thank
accomplishment.
You. Wonderful way to kick off the year. It was a big award. It's through the World Whiskey Awards. It's 90 blind tasters, so experts. There's no influence. You're not buying that access.
Yeah.
And our master distiller and I were at the award ceremony, and we actually knew we were going to win a different award. And him and I were like plotting our trip to the bar after the award ceremony.
Sure.
And they said, all right, it was the final award of the night. World's best whiskey. They called our name. We walked past the table of some of our whiskey making idols.
Yeah.
So it's been wonderful. The reaction here in Greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky, I feel like all of us are on board. Now we're the home of the world's best bourbon. So it's been a really exciting 2026.
There's a picture of you and,
Yes,
and who's
and
that
Brian,
with you?
that's Brian Sprance. That's our master distiller. Brian and I have been at New Riff since we opened the doors. He was a brewer for 15 years. We turned him into a whiskey maker, and I think in a decade, there will be a lot more shine on his name. He's a whiskey making genius.
That look on your face, I think, has Merriam-Webster reached out to you to have that picture be next to the definition of elated in the dictionary?
Surprised, elated, all of it.
And I think the other really key thing with that award is that wasn't some specialty product that is, that's your regular.
That's our core, so that's our bottled and bond bourbon. It's 4 years old. It's 100 proof. We've made it since day one. It is available in all 50 states. It's available in several export markets now, but it's like the base of our pyramid.
Yeah.
So really exciting. It lifts everything else up. And sometimes these awards go to like a rare release we do once a year that no one can really get their hands on.
Right.
And for it to be on our most widely available product is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, the movie that makes the most money at the box office also winning the Oscar
Right.
for Best Picture.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a $39.99 bottle you can get all over Greater Cincinnati, Kentucky, and the rest of the country.
Okay, now you said bottled and bond. I know a little bit about bourbon, but I don't know a lot. What does bottled and bond mean?
So bottled and bond is a quality standard. It's a law.
It's a law, a state law.
It's a federal law.
Federal law.
Believe it or not, the Bottled and Bond Act happened before the FDA existed.
Okay.
Many, many years ago, people were putting all sorts of wild stuff into whiskey. This was in the 1800s. And so the Bottled and Bond Act ensures nothing can be added. It has to be at least 4 years old. It has to be 100 proof, and it has to be made at one distillery and bottled in one distilling season. So this is it right here. We actually have it embossed in the glass. And it is really the highest quality standard in the world for any spirit, tequila, scotch, rum, etc. And it basically, for us, as a new brand, was a way to say, like, we're here, we're doing it the right way, this is gonna be a quality product. And over the last decade, a lot of people would have called bottled and bond whiskeys like their grandpa's whiskey.
Okay.
Because a lot of people just associate it with like a classic. And so for us, it's a bit of that new riff on an old tradition. Is we're a modern distillery, it's a modern brand, but we are sticking to this law from the 1800s.
Yeah, so you can still make bourbon that doesn't follow that, but this is the like if you're thinking quality, that's what that process specifically dictates.
Exactly.
And how has that worked for you guys as far as, being a operation that started in 2014?
Yeah.
With that focus on quality, the idea that you gotta wait things out, you gotta let things age maybe a little bit longer, the impulse to want to rush to market sooner, but having that restraint to hold back and say, no, we're gonna go to market with a quality product as opposed to a quantity that we can put out more.
I mean, it goes back to the very creation myth and origin story. The owner of New Riff used to own the Party Source. And so in the 2000s, 2010s, he was seeing the change in whiskey. One of our co-founders was the fine spirits buyer there, and they were seeing what was happening. And so they had this idea, can we start a whiskey brand, and had the benefit of seeing what was the right way to do it and the foresight and planning to make it that span of time financially. Those first 4 years, we did not have a lot of income, but we knew that. So it was built to endure the first 4 or 5 years. But we've done that the whole time. It's a big part of our brand story, is not cutting corners. We like to say we take the high road even when it's the hard road. And now I can sit here and say it's paid off. If you would have asked me a decade ago, I'd been like, I'm pretty sure it's going to pay off.
It should. We think it will.
Yeah, it's nice to see that we're getting some external accolades from a lot of the work we've been doing for the last decade.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's like when you plant asparagus in the garden, right? You got to wait a year before you can even harvest any of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other growth things that do that. I'm just trying to make a comparison. Is that and that's an interesting strategy, because you said you are sort of relatively the new kids on the block and wanting to establish yourself by focusing on quality. How has that maybe made waves with your contemporaries and colleagues?
Yeah, I mean, I think the industry at large has always been collegial with each other. There's a lot of support, especially here in Kentucky. We're a part of the Kentucky Distillers Association on the Bourbon Trail. A bit of the high tide lifts all boats. And so I think we were welcomed. We always tried to be really transparent and authentic in what we did. I mean, we could have called this, old Newport Creek.
Sure.
And made up a story, but we didn't have an authentic story, so we told people who we were. We were a new riff on an old tradition, and instead of saying we're bashing the old tradition, I think a riff, like a guitar riff, you respect that song, but you're putting your own spin on it. And so we just stuck with that. We all believe it. I mean, everybody was committed to that from day one. And so we felt supported, and it's a major credit to the big guys in bourbon. They've always understood the value of the smaller craft or independent brands because it brings in new customers, it creates curiosity and engagement and experience for all of us.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that the industry is fairly collegial because, Northern Kentucky, I feel like often gets lumped in with Cincinnati in the same way that people in Ohio lump Cincinnati in with Kentucky. And this is sort of like a little island of a culture and community around here. I feel like most of the focus in bourbon is on Louisville.
100%. They call the Amber Triangle Louisville, Bardstown, and Lexington, a little bit of Frankfurt. And we're like, hello, come up here. CVG is the best airport for the Bourbon Trail. Ohio's the #1 visitor state for almost 10 million people a year that come visit the Bourbon Trail. So we see ourselves as the entry point. We have not been officially deemed that, but we have so many visitors who are here like on Thursday mornings before they're going in to Central Kentucky, and we have the benefit of a local community. So our tasting room, the Aquifer Tasting Room, which is open to the public, we have cocktails and a little bit of food along with our full library. Like, we have regulars. If you're out kind of in the middle of nowhere in Central Kentucky, there's probably not a strong base of people who are coming for like Reds Day specials, for home game specials and local events. And so we like our little spot up here. I feel like it gives us some space to be creative, and we love being a part of the greater Cincinnati community. I mean, we're the biggest city in Kentucky, basically, because we have this whole place behind us.
What is that like for you as CEO of this distilling company, this distillery, where because of the importance of the product itself and to the identity of the state and the importance of the role that the bourbon industry plays in tourism, I mean, are you in touch with, you're in touch with local leaders talking about tourism?
Absolutely.
We played that video from the Kentucky Tourism and Visit Cincy. Like, there's a lot of different angles that you got to be aware of.
We are highly involved with wonderful partners, with Julie Kirkpatrick at Meet NKY and Visit Cincy, with friends at CVG, with our local politicians. My counterpart and I, Molly Lewis, who's our president, second generation of the family ownership, we invest a lot into those relationships, and we want to be a place where when people are coming to visit because they've opened a new flight to Iceland, because a new conference is coming to town, they're soliciting a new business, they come visit us. They want to be able to show that if they move and invest in this community, there's cool things, there's a sense of pride and place and things that are here that really ground the community. So we like to host those folks when they come in, do what we can, and the love and support we get shown from those partners all over the city is incredible.
Well, and there's such a uniqueness to it also because, there's so many places that might say world's best hamburger or largest ball of twine. And so many different places could say that sort of thing. But because bourbon is so specific to Kentucky, there's a little bit of production in Tennessee, right? But as far as Kentucky is the state for bourbon.
It is 95% of the bourbon in the world, which has to be made in the U.S.
Right.
So
that's
in
a
the
good
US
law for quality, by the way.
Has to be, or is made in Kentucky. You can make bourbon anywhere in the U.S. We like to say the best bourbon's made here in Kentucky, but there's a lot of not only physiological and water and limestone and grains, but also just like the culture. I mean, if you meet people around here that are in this industry, their parents worked in the industry, their grandparents did, and Greater Cincinnati has a deep and rich history, not only of distilling, but of rectifying because of the river. So a lot of whiskey made in Central Kentucky came up through Cincinnati, got sent down the Mississippi, down to New Orleans, et cetera. And so there's just like, it's in our blood, it's in our milieu, you know? And we feel that all the time. It's a tight-knit industry, but it's been here for a long time. And even in all the connection with brewing, I mentioned earlier that our master distiller, Brian Sprance, was a brewer. Like, the first part of making whiskey is making beer. So we feel very tied to the manufacturing, drinking culture of Greater Cincinnati.
Yeah, because it's all tied to fermentation. It's just different levels of fermentation, right? I was reading a little fact. I was looking up fun facts about the bourbon industry, and there was a bit about how when the U.S. needed to produce penicillin decades ago, bourbon makers really stepped in because you're just talking about the fermentation process, and that's just what we needed to do to get something done.
It's amazing. There have been a lot of examples of that. I mean, during COVID, our production team, which we
Yeah, I
don't
was gonna
normally
ask about
produce
this.
vodka, which is like a much higher proof distillation. They figured out how to make hand sanitizer in
Yeah.
a number of days, and we were driving trucks around with big blue drums of hand sanitizer. I mean, we still have hand sanitizer in our basement from spring of 2020, but the capacity to kind of take that same mindset. We've done a lot of collaborations with other local breweries, whether they're aging beer in our barrels. We just released a really cool product with Rheingeist.
I was going to
this
ask you about this.
spring,
I grabbed a picture of it, the Duet.
Duet, which is an American malt whiskey. And we basically took product of ours, it was about 7 years old. We brought over 20 or 30 barrels to the basement of Rheingeist, aged in what's called a fooder. It's basically a giant wood barrel.
There we
They
go.
normally age. There it is. Beautiful bottle. Great
That's
story
gorgeous.
about this. Our graphic designer and Rheingeist's graphic designer collaborated on this bottle. Turns out they had just been married a few months before this project.
What, those two
Jared
people?
and Chloe, yep, completely coincidental. I mean, we obviously know she works at Rheingeist, but we were like, so do you guys mind making this label together? I know you're newlyweds, but they did an amazing job. But we aged the whiskey in there where they normally are aging beer and
Yeah.
souring beer, which is really cool. It's a really interesting product, but that connection, there's so many friendships across the river in the industry. It's really fun to see them come to life.
That's really great. We are got to take a break.
Great.
When we come back, we're going to have more with Hannah Lowen from New Riff Distilling. Stick around. You're watching The Working Lunch on The Crown. What is The Crown? It's simple, really. Authentic Cincinnati entertainment. Not hot takes from a studio 3 states away. Not national noise pretending to know this city. Rather, bringing a voice to those who call the Queen City home. Where can I watch The Crown shows? Join us live from 7 to 11 a.m. for First Word and 12 to 1 for The Working Lunch on RESN. No live TV? No problem. Stream and interact with all of our content on major podcast, broadcast, and streaming platforms. The Crown is Cincinnati. Loud, passionate, competitive, proud. From early morning sports debates to the business leaders shaping the riverfront, to the fans, stories, moments, and culture that make this place move. Live shows, podcasts, documentaries, digital content built from Cincinnati, for Cincinnati. This is The Crown.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones. Just your typical 40-year-old Cincinnati girl. Although, no, I'm not married or divorced. I don't have any kids, and I don't live in the neighborhood I grew up in, which is the West Side, by the way. But what I do have is a lot of freaking time, and I've been using it well. So come along with me on this grand adventure, because I've been trying all the new around town that you need to know about. This is Nat Tries That.
My name's Jacob Tissett, and I'm a co-host of First Word from 7 to 11 every morning right here on the Crown Network, where we will break down the biggest stories in Cincinnati sports. I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama, where I spent 4 seasons working for the football team as a student assistant, contributing to the 2020 National Championship and 3 SEC championships. I'm a Cincinnati native, a St. Xavier High School graduate, and will bring a local perspective and passion to covering the Bengals, Reds, and everything in between. I'm excited to have you join us on First Word.
Hey, I'm Marissa Contapelli, one of the co-hosts on First Word and a features producer here on The Crown, where I will be out and about in Cincinnati bringing you the stories that you need to hear in the Queen City. Now, I know I'm from Cleveland, but I love my Cincy sports. I've been in Cincinnati for almost a decade now, spending the last 8 seasons with the Bengals as a team reporter and senior producer. I am so excited to be a part of the team here at The Crown, and I can't wait to bring you the latest from around the city.
And we are back on the Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. I'm joined by Hannah Lowen, who is the CEO of New Riff Distilling in Newport, Kentucky. I got to ask you this because this is something that always bugs me. When you spell the word whiskey, do you do it with an E or not?
So in the States, it's with an E.
Okay.
In Scotland and the UK, it's a Y.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I've always wondered about that.
You can't really do it wrong. No one would criticize
Yeah.
you.
But whiskey's still whiskey.
Technically, it's an E on this side of the pond.
I wasn't sure if that spelling meant, like, if it's spelled with an E, that means it's not technically blah, you know what I mean?
Just tradition.
So you became CEO of New Riff how long ago?
Almost 3 years ago.
Almost 3 years ago. I know that you came up through the business itself, working in branding, working in ops, but you haven't always been a capital A alcohol industry employee.
No.
A lot of maybe what you did before had alcohol as a side thing.
Right, exactly. It was a hobby back then. Yeah, I grew up in Kentucky, though. So again, grew up in Louisville. I went to school out of state, and I ended up working in politics in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon, in my 20s, doing political organizing, trying to get people to believe in politics and voting, and did that for many years, and was kind of wandering about, planning my next move. I think in an alternate universe, I would be an attorney somewhere, maybe. But I know the Lewis family from Louisville, and I literally got a call. I was sitting at my cousin's table, who lives in Uruguay. I had traveled in South America, and Ken called me, and he said, "I'm starting a bourbon distillery. Like, what are you doing?" And I'm like,
I'm in
not
Uruguay.
much right now. So I came home, I talked to him and Molly back then about this big vision they have. This was in maybe 2011. And they said, well, if you want to come show up in a year, we're going to try to do this thing. I didn't have a title. There was no formal job description. And Ken and I actually shook on a deal in a dog park in Louisville.
Cool.
That I would come help him start the business. And that's what I did. So I showed up. There were 8 of us. There were a couple of folks making whiskey, a couple of folks running the event center, and me. And we built everything from the ground up. And so as time went on, I took on more, fell in love with the business, fell in love with the industry. I had always been a food and drink person, so it always worked in.
I was wondering where the pivot, like what the motivation is to pivot outside of the fact that you're getting this phone call.
Food and drink was and it still is my love and passion. I went to school in Wisconsin, so I was like already into craft beer. And was trying to make my own craft beer poorly. I never did that ever again. And so it just learned and grew, and the benefit of an industry like this is where there's a long horizon to kind of get to where you're going. You have some capacity to learn
and breathe.
I had wonderful mentors and supporters along the way. And so fast forward a decade later, and I was kind of running I always say, like, people and money is my world.
Cool.
I'm not making the whiskey, I'm not selling the whiskey, but to run the organization, to lead, to manage, put those pieces together, I love and have found a talent in. And so, when Ken shared he was going to retire, I convinced him and our other co-owner and the board of directors that I should take the lead, and I hope they haven't regretted it too much a few years later.
Well, you got a big award that backs up that idea.
Exactly. That was a few years in the making too, but no, it's been great. I think there's a lot of change and movement in our industry right now, and so having a trusted leader to take us through it has been a real privilege.
What are some of the things that you learned that you have held on to in your time coming up, both doing the pre-bourbon job and then working in the company itself, working your way up, working in branding, working in ops? What are some of the lessons you learned then that apply to the way you're handling this leadership position now?
That's a great question. I mean, I think the utmost importance of communication and clarity with your team, with your customers, with vendors, and not only in strong communication, making things more productive and impactful, but also like the relationship building you can do when you can say what you mean authentically and hear that back from people has served me and New Riff really well. We've always tried to be honest and treat our customers and our community with respect and care, and we've gotten that back in spades. And so I think, like the golden rule really is real. And if you can speak to that honestly and authentically, it goes a long way.
I'm afraid this is going to sound a little bit too poetical, but the parallel between you have to let bourbon age and give it time to come around, and then you professionally, you had to sort of professionally mature into this role that you're in now. Is that a little too weird of a comparison?
No, I think that's true. I feel like coming up within the business and having, bottled bottles. Again, our team now is so much better, but there's all these parts of the business where at one point there were 2 or 3 of us trying to figure out how to bottle, attach labels, roll barrels, do tour programming, run a tasting program, run a marketing campaign. And so I think I can really understand and empathize with our team and like how pieces work together, how we work with other vendors. And it allows me to be a better leader because I can understand how these pieces of the business fit together and often jump in like, there's a gap here. That's really a place where I think I bring a lot of benefit to our team. And so, everybody at New Riff has like fully drank the Kool-Aid. We've fully drank the bottled and bond whiskey. And, I really believe in it and have the whole time. And so I take great pride in showing up to work and making a thing that you can hold that at its best, whiskey, beer, wine, like we love to be that moment of connection for people. You're celebrating. Even if you're mourning, you're just walking into a bar with friends. Like we love to be in that space with people. So it makes me feel like there's meaning in my work every day.
I had Molly Wellman on weeks ago, and I think I asked her about this too, because it's always a question I have for people that work in an industry that is kind of built around fun. Having those two things intersect, where you are at work, but having alcohol readily available and have it be part of the job and the process. Is that something that you needed some time to like find a middle ground on, or is it just you approaching things in a responsible way?
I think for some people there is a level of learning moderation and those things. For me, it's never been a thing. I've always been a steady and moderate consumer. And you learn actually when it's like always available, it's kind of less exciting.
Interesting.
But one of the best things about my job is at the end of the day, like going up to our tasting room and having a cocktail with colleagues or partners or friends and being in that space, and you're looking around and you see 100 different types of whiskey that we've made at the bar. You're like, we made all of this. And now I'm drinking it in a fantastic cocktail that a team member of ours has made. And so it is just kind of like a cherry on top. I don't experience it like it's a product that we're making. We're not like walking around at 8 o'clock in the morning being like, boy, I better drain that barrel over here. There's certainly parts of our industry where that touches. But again, the type of product we've made, like this is not a volume product. People aren't like taking shots often or chugging New Riff.
It's a sipping thing.
Yeah, and it's a cocktailian. It stands up great. All of our products are high rye. They're at least 100 proof, so it works really well in a cocktail. And there is so much talent in Greater Cincinnati
on the cocktail scene,
side. That, like I love walking into some of these to Mid City and Longfellow and Friends and Alive and Well that are making great cocktails with our stuff. That brings me great joy too. I know does for our whole team.
Yeah. So you're I think there's purists out there probably for any alcohol, but certainly for bourbon, the idea of we're not mixing this with anything else. I'm going to appreciate this for what it is. But you're cool with that.
Yeah. We want people to drink it however they like it. I mean, I drink more cocktails than I drink things neat. But like when you're tasting, obviously, it's nice to know the baseline and different reasons for the season. I mean, I drink a lot more neat whiskey in the winter. I feel like, you're like having your glass of malted rye by the fire. But in the summer, some of the drinks that our team makes with like rye that you wouldn't imagine would be in a light, bright, effervescent cocktail. And you're like, this is great. I could drink. Those are the ones where I was like, I am not going to drink 3 of these while I'm at work. I'll go home to have the other one.
You talked about getting that phone call from Ken. And working with his daughter in the company now. What is it like for you? Something I like to also talk to people about when you're talking about maybe a generational kind of leadership of a company. This is a business that started, you were there from the beginning, but like it existed and you're looking to, in theory, pass it on down the road. What does that sense mean to you? Are there things that you're thinking about down the road? Are there decisions that you're making? The whole industry is kind of built on long-term thinking.
Yeah, I mean, we are always balancing short term, which even for us is still a 12-month window with what's happening in 20 and 30 years. And it's an interesting challenge for my brain, at least, which is very hyper present in the moment. So it takes a certain intentionality on my part to be doing our super long strategic planning. But whiskey has forced that upon me. you know, when we, like this year, this award has supercharged our sales. Well, we can only sell what we made 4 years ago.
Right.
I mean, you can't turn on a dime. You can't run an extra tank. It's like you are in the prediction business, which can be a bit of a crystal ball. And
then you also have to hope that the interest will maintain from now until when what you're making now is going to be on the shelf.
Yeah. So we're doing planning on what's happening in the next 12 months, the next 3 years, and we kind of have our 10-year horizons. And the idea is that this brand continues. Our goal has always to become a great small distillery of the world, which is squishy. There's not like an exact mark of it. And honestly, this award, a few things have made us feel like, are we getting there? Like we're on our way. But I think that end game is that someday at every major whiskey bar in the world, like if someone asks about a great American whiskey, we're in the conversation. There's never going to be a time where we're going to like dethrone Buffalo Trace. That's not the goal, but but everybody knows Buffalo Trace who knows whiskey, and we would like to be in that space too, that our reputation is known across the world.
Well, and having that, I think the name is really clever. The idea of being a new riff on an old tradition. I think that makes a lot of sense. What do you do for fun?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I've got a 6-year-old and 2 dogs, and my wife and I are always running around with them. But right now, the pool is what I'm doing for fun.
Yeah, no kidding.
In the heat dome.
How does the heat affect the process here? This is crazy heat. You've got these things in barrels sitting in a rick house somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, in aging, the heat helps age the whiskey. That's one of the reasons Kentucky is the center of bourbon. The whiskey is pushing out into the wood of the barrels, coming back in when it's cold. But that's a process that happens every year. What it means on a day-to-day basis is that our team in distillation and warehousing, these guys and girls are like doing their jobs when it is so hot.
They're in the heat too.
Yeah, we're just bringing them water and ice as much as we can and seeing them sprawled out in the air conditioning when they come in from the warehouses.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, listen, congratulations on all your accomplishments with this thing. It's really great.
Thank you for having us.
Enjoy the pool for the love of Pete. It's so hot out there.
Everybody who needs to be in water,
and New Riff Distilling.
Yeah,
this is the best bourbon in the world. That's not hyperbole. That's that is a cold hard fact.
Yeah.
You're watching The Working Lunch. We got to take a break. We'll be back with more on The Crown. Stick around.
We welcome you from Cincinnati, Ohio. Nick Hamlin, the fan favorite, to put it away. Touchdown, Cincinnati. Oh, what a catch. Cincinnati can't score. Scores and the Reds win.
Cincinnati sports fans are the best. Loyal, passionate, second to none. This city lives and breathes sports, and now it finally has a morning show to match. I'm James Rapine, and this is First Word, the only morning sports show in Cincinnati and the place where every day starts. We break down the biggest moments and set the agenda for the city. Marissa Contepelli and Jacob Tissett join me to bring the insight and energy you need to start your day. The conversation starts with First Word. First Word, weekdays 7 to 11, part of the Crown Network.
This is the Rebound Rundown. I'm your host, Paul Fritchner. Your home for college basketball in the Cincinnati area and across the country every Monday through Friday during the season. Previews, recaps, breakdowns, interviews, and more. You can find it all right here. Your one-stop shop for a quick dose of college hoops on your morning commute. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, a Cincinnati native, and I have been in media for about 10 years now. Formerly on the radio here in Cincinnati, I grew my love and obsession with finding all things fun in Cincinnati and have now made it my life. I'm originally from the West Side here, and then I've pretty much been a downtown girl ever since college. But I did leave for 7 years, and during that time, I really grew and harnessed and cut my teeth doing stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, learning how to ski in Colorado, and now I'm back here in Cincinnati, driven by curiosity and grounded by family.
I'm Paul Fritchner. I'm a 2019 graduate of Xavier University, and I've been covering college basketball for 10 years here in the Cincinnati area. I'm the host of the Rebound Rundown, a daily college basketball podcast during the season and a weekly show in the off-season covering everything you need to know about your favorite team. And if you're not a fan of a team here in Cincinnati, I have you covered from the national perspective as well. Follow it on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to the Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. Hey, we are wrapping things up on a holiday week. Again, happy 4th of July coming up this weekend. Because we are wrapping things up at the end of the week, that means we're going to talk a little bit about movies that are coming out this weekend. It's a holiday weekend, which means not a lot is actually releasing on Friday tomorrow. But the big release this week, Minions and Monsters, actually hit on Wednesday. Take a look.
La partita.
Whoopsie. So that movie did open on Wednesday. It did about 13, just shy of 14 million on its opening day domestically. That is tracking for an $80 million 5-day opening weekend. Probably going to take a bit of a take a bite out of, if you will, Toy Story 5's box office, but we'll see how things all shake out. You know, one of the risks with a movie like that, though, is when you're turning the side characters into the main dish. You know, it's like what KFC did with that Cheetos sandwich, to varying degrees of success. Kevin Smith's Jay and Silent Bob characters in the Clerks movies, that pivot seemed to work okay. The Ice Age movies tried to do it with Scrat. So far, the Minion stuff seems to be working really well. An $80 million 5-day opening weekend for a pretty well-known franchise and IP, not half bad. The other notable release coming out this weekend is Young Washington out of Angel Studios. Angel Studios, kind of a new upstart. They are doing this Young Washington movie with a pretty impressive cast. Andy Serkis, Ben Kingsley, Mary Louise Parker among the people in this film. This tells the story of, as you can see, young George Washington and his role in the French and Indian War. So in terms of a release for a patriotic holiday weekend, we're not going to see George fighting in the American Revolution and helping to craft a young United States. It's young Washington, maybe like how we had young Indiana Jones. One other bit real quick. Be concerned. The People's Pantry in Covington are doing their season ticket Bengals raffle. Bengals season ticket raffle going on now. You can win Bengals season tickets for 2026. Check it out, beconcerned.org. Hey, thank you for watching the show. Big thanks to Hannah Lowen of New Riff Distilling for coming on the show. Enjoy the holiday weekend. We're lucky to be in this city. We're lucky to be in this country. Enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Ooh.